You're good.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to our brief podcast episode complementing this week's blog. My name is Ron, and I'll be the host for this podcast. Joining me today is
Mikey and I will help co-host for today's podcast, and together we make up for GREPHICS blog team.
If you've been reading through our lovely blogs, you've noticed a very consistent theme throughout them, hopefully, which is greenwashing. In practice, we feel that it is the lack of disclosing information around the environmental impacts of products that are advertised as green and environmentally friendly to consumers when often they're not.
That is a great way to put together greenwashing for the audience, Ron. Clear and concise.
Thank you very much. One company that we agree does not engage in this, however, on a more upbeat note from H&M last week, is Levi, simply because for a majority of the environmental claims they've made, they have substantiated them in a very transparent manner. And they're also very concerned about organizing programs to benefit the environment and fight climate pollution.
Given their introduction of the waterless process back in 2011, Levi's had achieved a maximized level of water efficiency, which helped save approximately 13 billion liters of water in 2020.
13 billion, wow, that's a lot of water.
It is indeed. With the new R guidelines in place, which stand for recycle and reuse, facilities must meet the requirement of recycling 20% of the water used during manufacturing processes. Along with their new adaptations of LED lighting and an updated HVAC system, they've updated factories into more energy efficient factories. Back in 2020, 83% of Levi's cotton came from sustainable sources. This upgraded materials are more organic and recycled cotton, which came into play with one of their new collections, the Levi's Wool Thread collection, designed for recyclability. Putting those two together, Levi's had shown a reduction in fiber impact. Furthermore, their new shipping designs and reduction in packaging waste and transportation and carbon emissions create a minimal carbon footprint. In conclusion, Levi's has brought forth an improved cotton cultivation and source alternative fibers, which help protect the environment and water quality under the Biodiversity Plan initiatives.
Jumping forward to the present, we have the introduction of their comprehensive global sustainability report from 2020, which addresses 3 C's of interest: climate, consumption, and community. In terms of the climate front, they've aimed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in their overall production and manufacturing of their products. They're also adapting their practices to use renewable energy and water recycling technologies. In terms of their product offerings affecting their ways of manufacturing, we have their 501 genes that use organic cotton. They have factories with initiatives targeting worker advocacy and welfare through a supplier code of conduct, a social and labor convergence program assessment framework, and better work assessments. They also downsource suppliers to reduce the harmful impact of waste in their process of manufacturing. However, all isn't too rosy for them because in a product lifestyle study commissioned in 2022, quite recently, it was shown that 37% of their products have an impact on the climate, and 23% of wasteful water consumption happens during the consumer care phase of the product, which is usually, after a few weeks donning it and you have to put it in the washer, which has prompted Levi's to want to take action to shift our attitudes, us consumers, from this fast fashion based idea of consumption, which is, you have to buy the product. If it's out of season or out of style, you have to immediately discard it because, that seems to be very wasteful. In 2012, Greenpeace named them for connections that they had to dangerous pollution that was happening in Mexico. And this prompted Levi's to reduce the hazardous chemicals that they use to dye and treat their clothing, aimed for the elimination of hazardous chemicals by 2020, which they actually achieved, by the way. They received zero discharge of hazardous chemicals grouping labels across most of their supply chain. However, there are some problems with their labor conditions. They scored a mid range 41 to 50% in Fashion Revolution's Transparency Index because none of its supply chain, or almost none of it really, is certified by labor standards which ensure worker health and safety. They're also not doing too well on animal welfare because even though their current animal welfare policy insists that supply chains for the sourcing of all animal products are to be traceable, where practiced to ensure humane practices, they still use leather, down feather, and wool without stating their sources. So there's still a lot of problems that they have. But the main takeaway with Levi's is that despite their actions, good or bad, at least they're projecting their actions in a very tangible way. When they make environmental claims, it's coming from something that isn't cooked up for the sake of just us consumers being tricked into buying these products, because
Not to mention H&M.
oh yeah, H&M specifically. If you've been reading our blog, we've established that we have quite a burning vengeance for them. But really, I mean, there's still a lot of ways that Levi's can improve the ways in which they're contributing to environmental sustainability. But out of all the companies that we've tried to do research on, and there are plenty, right, Mikey?
Indeed, there was a lot of additional resource we had to cut down for this short blog.
Oh yeah,
And yeah,
Levi seemed to be, the shining star out of all of this. So we hope that you get a bit more out of this blog, and stay tuned for the last one. Don't really want to give too much away, but you'll be hearing. I don't know if you'd be hearing, but you'd be getting transcripts of different voices. Let's just say that. All right, take care. This has been Ron and
Mikey, thank you for joining our short blog podcast for this week. Hopefully you found it interesting and gained some insights towards greenwashing.